Hey everyone, welcome back to the Indie Basketball Podcast. This is where indie rock meets the NBA's finest. Today's podcast, I'm super lucky to be joined by Kenny and Jon of The Head and the Heart, because they're a couple of hoop heads and they are celebrating 15 years of their beloved self-titled album. So I'm very excited to have them on. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, including the playoffs and their respective teams. But first things first, let's jump into a few things. Mostly one thing, the music news. I want to, we'll talk about playoffs as we get to the guests. I'm not going to spare too much time on this, but I do want to talk about kind of an album announcement that happened. You remember Boards of Canada? Yeah, the bizarre, experimental, lo-fi electronic musicians. I often think of them when I think of the animated web series Salad Fingers, because they used that for their theme song as well. Well, it's been a minute, and a few weeks ago, there were reports that some music fans were getting these anonymous, cryptic, unmarked VHS tapes delivered. And it had these really lo-fi ambient visuals and audio. And a lot of people pieced together that, it's from a label that has Boards of Canada. And a lot of people assumed that that means we're going to get some new music from them. And they were right, because they just announced a new album. It is called Inferno and is out May 29th. The VHS thing is super cool. I love a good marketing campaign like that. Not like Chaotic Good geese, but maybe they are. Maybe Boards of Canada did sign Chaotic Good to do this marketing campaign. Boards of Canada is a psyop. But anyways, I'm looking forward to a new Boards of Canada album. They're super weird, and I think we definitely need something, a release like this from a band like Boards of Canada. So, yeah, let me know if you're looking forward to this album. I'm looking forward to any singles that get released, and they're a trip. But that's all I wanted to do before we get into this interview. So I'll go straight into the interview. Enjoy it. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're in a sauna?
I'm in a sauna.
I know, it looks like you're in a sauna with a... Are you?
Hell yeah.
It looks like a robe.
I'm at my mother-in-law's house in the Bay Area, and it's cold, and I didn't plan for cold. And we have a
She was living in the sauna.
Well, it's warmer. I'm trying to get warm, and my 14-month-old is just like, we got here like 2 days ago, and so everybody's just like a little upside down with jet lag, and so it's loud in there, and there's like nowhere to go. So I'm in the sauna.
Gotcha.
Well, well, I'm happy you're both here, man. I'm super
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
Have this conversation. Definitely. So I'll start this question. Something I want to hear from both you guys is a little tip-off question. Is I'd love to know what you're both kind of been listening to lately.
Man, I've kind of been... This is such a lame answer for me because I feel like I always say this, but I saw Paul McCartney a few weeks ago at the Fonda here in LA. It was like that you probably might have seen something about it, but he played a 1,200 cap room, and it was super hard to get tickets to it, and changed the flight to make it work. It was like he's my all-time favorite, but I saw him in this tiny room. I was 10 feet from him, and so I've been on a big kick of his like solo stuff and kind of later records the last few weeks. A lot of Flaming Pie.
I have been too, because I watched that documentary that came out like last month.
The Man on the Run.
Yeah, and it's very good, very good. Man on the Run. That documentary is super good.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about that documentary too is like I thought the animation they did with like all like the photos and transitions were super cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a lot of really cool, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't really fully know about, kind of like the end of the Beatles and all that stuff, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was interesting too. I mean, he's like there as a group. they're my favorite and always have been. But he's kind of always stood out as my guy, and I've seen him a bunch, but always in stadiums and festivals, and seeing him in a tiny theater was a trip. It was really special.
Very nice. Yeah, I wish I got to see him at Wrigley Field when he was here.
But Matt, to your question, I've been listening to a lot of Sinead O'Connor.
Ooh,
I found she wrote a memoir, I guess, in like 2020, or I guess it came out in 2024, 2023, something like that. And yeah, I don't know. I had obviously heard of her, but I was never really that familiar with her music. And I've been lately. There's a record called Universal Mother. It came out in like '94. Um, Super into it. It's like,
nice.
yeah, it's just refreshing because it's like, yeah, I just like basically her whole catalog. I just like am unfamiliar with, and she
Right.
just
There's a
has
lot
this.
of artists like that for me where it's like
Yeah,
I know like the iconography of you as an artist and
right.
I've heard songs, but I've never really dove in. And I'll say
Mhm.
that I'll admit this, the biggest blind spot for me is I've listened to Prince, but I have not done like the
Deep
whole
dive.
Yeah.
discography.
Oh
Yeah, I
man,
haven't gone
same.
in and I've always wanted to, and I don't know why I'm not. So
There's so
I
many
gotta.
like that for me. I feel like that's the problem almost is like when I think about how many artists there are that I would like to do the deep dive, I get overwhelmed by the amount that I like. It's like, where do you start? It's like anything. It's like if your garage is messy, like I don't want to start it because I know it's a big job. You just got to chip away at it.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's almost like too many blind spots. It's like, how do you catch up? But
Totally.
that's music, man. Um, cool. So again, thank you guys for being here. I know you're here because first and foremost, you guys are celebrating 15 years of that self-titled album. Um, and I wanted to ask, looking back, like, does it feel like an eternity or does it feel like no time at all?
Man, kind of both. I mean, like anything, yeah, it has flown by, and I feel like doing what we do, especially the touring side of it, it's a lot of, it's a lot of doing the same thing over and over and over again, and like for lack of a better word, like a monotony. Not that it's boring, but it's doing the same thing repetitively over and over and over, and I feel like that kind of makes the years of touring feel like this small unit of time, So a lot of, I mean, and then you add in, throughout our 20s, probably too much drinking and going out every night and like all those sorts of things. So yeah, a lot of my 20s are kind of a blur. But yeah, I feel like the older we get, it's slowed down a touch, and I'm able to absorb it a little more and appreciate it for what it is. But yeah, it's kind of flown by, but at the same time, there have been periods where it's felt very slow.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of like conversations around that time period, trying to prep for what these shows will be like, which is going to be a lot of the entire band having microphones and telling stories around the songwriting and just the memories of like the Seattle scene at the time and us, meeting one another in 2009. Um, and I mean, honestly, it almost feels like a different person. Like I've just changed. We've all grown up and we've all changed so much, but like, yeah, it's just it almost feels like a different person's life that I'm like, certain people are like, "You remember this?" And I'm like, I don't remember that. Like
Yeah.
I believe you. And then I of course have my own memories, but yeah, it's been a trip, man. It's been like really fun and I don't know. I feel like I kind of needed it like cuz to Kenny's point, like, I feel like I agree. There is monotony and not attached to like it being that being a negative thing per se, but just like, it does sometimes feel like time is a hamster wheel in this industry. Like you're just kind of like, we're going on tour again, or we're home from tour again, and so it's been cool because that the making of that first record and us meeting 15 years ago kind of can't be repeated, like we make albums again, but like meeting one another, like I mean, we didn't get to know each other until we were on tour. Like we kind of knew one another as we were, starting the band. And
Yeah, I
that's
guess that's kind of something I wanted to ask, and Kenny, I'll ask you, like, what's like the first thing you think of when you think of like starting that band and like getting together?
Oh man, I mean, I mean, yeah, I mean, we recorded the first record 15 years ago, but it was '09 when we met, so it's been about 17 years since we met. And yeah, I mean, it was such an exciting time. I was 21. I just moved to Seattle kind of on a whim to avoid college and avoid like doing what I felt like I should maybe do eventually. But I wanted to do music, and I was inspired by a lot of music coming out of that city. So I just went up on a whim with not much. And yeah, within a few weeks, met John and Josiah at an open mic night. And our bass player Chris was bartending the bar that we met at. It just kind of this, serendipitous, one in a million type of thing where we all came from different walks of life, different states, different parts of the country, and happened to meet at this little bar and started writing songs together, and with no real goal, or plan. It was just like we enjoyed writing music together. We enjoyed the songs that were coming out of us, and eventually it started catching on, locally and at the open mic, and that turned into, well, maybe we should actually have a band and record something, and it's kind of like naturally or gradually happened in that way.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know you guys are about to go on tour again to kind of really celebrate this album. Some people, honestly, I feel like as time goes on, they start to hate playing those older songs. Are you guys enjoying it? Are you guys looking forward to it?
Yeah, it's funny, we still play quite a few of those songs from the first record, kind of always have. I think the storytelling and like hearing the whole band chime in and do storytelling, which is going to change the pace of the show. Like, to me, that's kind of the most exciting part, um, for me. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're
Nice.
kind of trying to treat it as if it's like an MTV Storytellers type feel for the first record. We're going to be playing the first record front to back and kind of talking more in between songs and telling some stories that people aren't familiar with, and then kind of doing a second set of other songs after that.
Cool.
It's gonna be fun.
That's awesome. um, I had a question. So, have you guys seen that guy who covered Rivers and Roads, who used that like hurdy-gurdy thing on his guitar? I think his name
Yeah.
was Chance Emerson. That blew me away.
That
'cause
was
I had never heard
super
something like
sick. Yeah, a few months ago, right? It wasn't too long
Yeah.
ago. I don't know if you saw that, John. I know it was passed around one of our group chats. We have a million group chats with the band and management and whatnot, and it was thrown around. But yeah, super cool. I think
It's
we
like
reached
a
out to him. I think we were
prank.
playing LA a few days later, actually. I think our drummer was like, we got to get him on stage, but we were opening the show, and it just felt like too much to throw together last second.
Sure.
But yeah, he lives in the LA area, and we got to get him up for a song at some point.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was like a hand crank sort of like Gertie mechanic. Um, and I guess on the subject of that song, I know you guys have had a lot of good songs in movies and TV. I guess I'm curious, what was it like the first time you guys had like a song picked up or saw it in like a movie or a show?
Man, I mean, I don't know if I remember the first time I saw one of our songs on television. I remember the first time hearing us on the radio, which is, I guess, in a similar world. Was just in Seattle, and it was, not long after we had recorded that first record. And I think I was at this beach, Madison Beach in Seattle, with some friends, and we would listen to just like a, little whatever you call it radio that somebody bought at Home Depot, or like a hardware store, and we'd bring it to the beach and listen, and heard the song Sounds Like Hallelujah come up. And still to this day, every time I hear one of our songs in public, it takes me a few seconds. It's almost like your brain initially recognizes the song as something and then a few seconds later, you're like, oh, that's us. It's still a trip. But yeah, we had a song in a Corona commercial some years back. That was pretty cool. Like the classic, like people on the beach, drinking Coronas. I forget.
Find your beach, man.
Who was in it, but yeah, that was kind of a good one. And yeah, I mean, still to this day, I meet people who, say things like, I discovered you from How I Met Your Mother or from Chuck, or like these shows I didn't even really watch, but we had songs in
Yeah.
pivotal moments apparently, and it works. We got some fans from it.
What about you, John? Is there a moment you remember kind of seeing it or something for the first time?
I vaguely do. I feel like the memory around it was like, it didn't seem real. Like it seemed like a band that I knew about, because like television just feels so like legitimate to me. You know what I mean? It's like, or like far away, it's like just something you don't have access to, like being on TV or like what that world is. So I remember hearing it and just being like, what the fuck is happening?
But also to be like
Like
a
it almost felt like an accident or something. I was like, is this supposed to be it was I don't know.
right, and it's not just
It
like on
was
in the background. It's like, oh, it's a focal point. It's like a needle drop. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's forward and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It
very
was
cool.
bizarre.
It's
I
very
don't
cool.
really have like well, yeah, it's a
I
strange
mean,
feeling.
I'm
Cool.
also like such like a movie and TV guy, so like I love when all those things cross over. Clearly, I also like when music and sports cross over, so we could talk basketball a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to.
So I know when we got reached out, like they said you guys are a couple of hoop heads. So are you, I know Kenny, you said you're from LA originally. John, are you from Seattle?
No, I'm from like Florida and Virginia for a long time. But I met my wife is from the Bay Area and so we started dating in like 2016.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also, it's. I know you guys kind of started the band in Seattle, but I think the team was leaving probably when you guys were just starting, right?
Yeah, they had left a couple years before because I actually lived in Oklahoma City right after they left. I lived there the year before we met in 2020 or in 2010. God, 2008. Gosh, years are crazy. Yeah, 2008, I lived in OKC, and it was right after they had done the move. I worked at a smoothie shop in downtown OKC selling like sandwiches and smoothies. And the building I worked in was where the Thunder set up their headquarters. And so I saw them like unveil the team colors and the jerseys, and like some of the players would come in and like get lunch sometimes when they were there for meetings and whatnot. I remember seeing KD in there. He was like in his second year of the league or third year. But yeah, it was crazy moving to Seattle the next year because I being such a big NBA fan myself, and it was 09 2010, so it was during the Lakers back to back championship years, Kobe's last two, and I moved to a city where everybody in town hated the NBA because the Sonic had just been ripped away from them. So I remember getting there and being really excited for the playoffs, and like everybody I talked to was just like, "Don't bring up the NBA here. Like we're still really bitter. It's only been a year and a half,
The
Like
entire
talk about the
league.
Seahawks, talk about the Mariners, but not the NBA." Which I get. I mean, they were there for like 41 years, I think, and got pulled away. But I'm still holding out hope that Seattle's going to have a team here in the next few years.
Sounds like
Seems
it.
crazy to me that yeah. Seems like a city that with a no-brainer. I'm
Yeah,
like like I really probably cannot accept the term or shouldn't accept the term hoophead. I'm a late bloomer when it comes
That's
to
fine.
basketball. And I'm kind of and I love watching basketball and I'm really excited to like talk about what I can, but honestly like I'm kind of just on here to like listen to you guys talk about basketball
I mean that's fair,
yeah.
but I
Well, I feel
chime
like
in when I can.
when you started dating Lindsay too. I mean, like John said, she was in the Bay Area, and so he moved there right when the Warriors like dynasty was happening. So it was,
yeah.
I think, really easy for you to like get wrapped up in the excitement of that and
Yeah, I was like,
realize
oh,
how great it can be.
this is really this is exciting.
Yeah.
Really, it was
Yeah,
like the
so I
pandemic
guess
too. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
what kind of which year did you kind of get into the Warriors? Was it for their big championship runs?
No, like I remember because I think when that was happening, I would have been visiting Lindsay there, but we weren't really doing anything around like we weren't watching TV. We weren't really like I was hearing about it kind of, but because I up until that point knew nothing about basketball, I was just kind of like another team is doing well somewhere. Um, it was 2020 when I was actually home long enough, and Lindsay and I were sitting like watching because she grew up like playing basketball, and so she understood the game. And had grew up in the Bay Area, so had been a fan for a long time, and so like it was just like early regular season, and she was just I guess was that even the bubble? Anyways, like basically she started explaining to me to like the rules, like, and then I was just like, oh, okay, I could kind of see what was going on and just got obsessed with it. Like, I became kind of fell in love with it. Like I'll watch like preseason games
Yeah,
and just still
summer
like
league's
I just
fun.
want to see. And yeah, and like to me too, it's like The dynamic of like a leadership role, and like what that, like the sort of culture and the psychology around that, beyond just what their superstar skill set is, like in terms of basketball. Like, I think that's kind of why I really nerded out on like Curry and just the Warriors, because it's so much had to do with like if he was ever having an off night, not just like game wise, but like emotionally, like you could just see things kind of fall apart. And I was just like, oh, like, I don't know. I just started comparing basketball to like a band. There's six of us.
Yeah.
It's democratic. Like, there are leadership roles that kind of change hats depending on what the task is. So I felt like I was like learning about how to like in my own lane, like how leadership could look, and what it looks like when you leave a vacuum and all that kind of stuff. So I would really pay attention to like, okay, Curry, like shots aren't falling, but like you got to keep this energy going. You know what I mean? I just started like, I don't know. I was like kind of talking to myself a lot when I was realizing what was happening. So
Yeah.
it was,
I mean,
it's real. I love the
that's why
game.
this podcast works. Like, that's why I've been able to talk to so many people. Is like, there is so much similarity of like being in a band and being on a basketball team. It's like the similar amount of numbers, and it's just that the levels of teamwork and like relying on each other. It just works so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, I think there's such a large population of, I mean, in my experience of just musicians that love sports, and people don't always connect the two, but we like so often I've become friends with bands we've toured with, and that connection, like anything, you meet people that have that similarity, and whether or not we talk about music or anything else, I feel like we still keep in touch because we'll be chiming into one another about our teams and about what's going on, in the NBA or NFL. And that's what I love about sports so much. I love that in LA growing up here, I can be at the gas station, and if I see some dude wearing like a Laker hat who's like completely different style, completely different energy, age than I am, I'll still say something to him, and we'll like, pound it and chat for a minute about like this kind of common love that we have and common interest, and it pulls the whole city together, and that's what I've always loved about it. And then I mean, it's been easy. I've had it easy growing up in LA too, because we've had some great teams. I feel super privileged to have been born here. I was born in '88, and the Lakers and Dodgers both won that year. I had to wait 12 years for the Lakers when the three-peat happened. Had to wait 32 years for the Dodgers, but now I'm, it's making up for a lot these last few years.
Yeah, I think you guys have been all right lately.
Yeah, it's been great. But yeah, I mean, sports are the best. I love basketball, and I feel like I was the only one in this band for a little while that was really into the NBA specifically. It's nice having Jon like find this attachment to it, so we can watch games together. And Chris, our bass player, is another sports guy, but he's more like hockey, football, baseball, not as much basketball. I think also because he's a Seattle guy and the Sonics had left, and so like I had mentioned, a lot of Seattle folks just don't like the NBA because they just feel butthurt for what happened, which I get. I mean, in a funny way, like the Lakers and basketball has a funny connection to our kind of foundation. I feel dumb not telling the story or mentioning it, but the night I met Jon and Josiah, actually, I just moved to Seattle. Like I said, I was 21. I'd been there for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was living in a friend's basement. I knew one person in town, and he said I could crash in his basement on an air mattress until I found my own place. So I was living in his basement, really just like trying to find a job and trying to find a place to live. It was also during the recession, and so it was like really tough to find work anywhere. So it was just a struggle to get to get going at all. But the playoffs were happening, and the Lakers were playing the Magic in the NBA Finals. Like right when I moved there, that was starting in the '09 Finals. And I remember asking him, the buddy I was living with, like where a good bar would be to watch the game. And he mentioned this Irish pub down the street that I hadn't been to yet. Again, I had just turned 21, so I could actually go. And I went there early, sat at the bar. Chris, who's now our bass player, bartended me, and we were talking for a bit. I was explaining to him that I just moved here. I didn't know anybody. I'm a musician, this and that. And the Lakers won that night. They beat the Magic in the finals. And so I was like I'm not home with my friends. I called all my friends outside, was stoked, celebrating. But because they won, I was, in the celebratory mindset. I was like, I'm staying. I'm gonna drink tonight and celebrate, even if I'm on my own. And so I stayed at the bar, kept drinking, And there happened to be this show that night, and Jon and Josiah both performed a couple songs each. And so I met them that night. I introduced myself because I was really impressed by both of them. And we started hanging out. But I always kind of joked that if it wasn't for the Lakers winning that game, if they had lost, I would have left right away. I would have left the second the game was done. But they won the finals that night. And so I'll always be able to look up the actual date we met, too, because it's the night that the Lakers beat the Magic in the 2009 finals. But because they won, I stuck around and I met Jon and Josiah and this band started. And here we are 17 years later, and who knows, we might have met, further down the road. But there's a good chance that if they hadn't won that game, we don't meet at all, or we don't meet for a few months. Who knows?
Jon,
it's funny. It's yeah, we've told that story a couple times, like from the stage randomly, I think, but never really told it in detail. And it's funny too because I remember the next year when we beat the Celtics in the 2010 finals. At that point, we were on tour and we were in Sandpoint, Idaho for Game 7, playing this small bar with the Lumineers, and it was like maybe a crowd of 15, 20 people. And so I'll always have those two checkpoints of like the 2009 finals when we beat the Magic, the night I met Jon and Josiah. The next year, we were already touring, but we were still in a van and we were doing tiny shows. And we did this small show with the Lumineers because we had kind of gotten to know them and done some small gigs together. And I watched Game 7 at a bar across the street, was wearing a Kobe jersey, ran across the second they won because it was a stressful game. We were down a bunch in the fourth and, barely pulled it off. Ran across the street, hopped on stage, played the set in my Kobe jersey for maybe 15 people. And I remember like leading up to that day, like watching Game 6, we like had a day off and we stopped at like a Buffalo Wild Wings off the side of the highway in like some small town, and I made everybody in the band watch Game 6 with me. And so yeah, it's kind of funny to have these two like really clear checkpoints of the 2009 finals and the 2010 finals, like what the band was doing. And in a lot of ways, without the Lakers and me being a fan of basketball, we might not have even met.
That's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I credit Kobe and the Lakers to the head and the heart existing.
I think we credit Kobe with a lot of stuff in life.
Sure do. Yeah.
Jon, are you still kind of in on the Warriors? Or still paying attention and all that?
Well, yes, with the caveat of I have a 14-month-old daughter. So, and then with all the injuries, like basically the way my watching of the Warriors games has been this season was like, I know I'm not going to catch the game as it's playing because I'm on East Coast time when I'm at home. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm so wiped out by then I'm sleeping. So we just record every single one of them. And it takes me like 3 days to finish like one game on the iPad. Cause it's usually when I'm like cooking or doing the dishes. Cause we were also really like trying to be adamant about like our daughter not like, being in front of screens. And so we kind of like forewent all of that. So it's really when she was asleep, I would watch, a couple quarters and then I'd fall asleep. So yeah, between like the season being what it was and then, pivotal time in my daughter's life, it was like, I haven't been as engaged. But yeah. Like I honestly didn't even know the Warriors were out until I saw your email.
Got knocked
I was
out,
like,
man.
damn, they didn't make it into the fucking.
Yeah, they had to play in and didn't make it.
I was like, honestly, I was like,
which technically is not even making the playoffs, I guess they consider.
Yeah.
Like play-in doesn't count as the playoffs, which to me is kind of bogus. I think that should be the playoffs still. It's like the wild card for baseball.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, for the Warriors, it's like the end of an era. I feel like, I guess honestly, for both you guys, like both your teams is like, we're winding down on some of the best of all time's careers.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm kind of ready for it on my end, but it is wild. I saw that Kerr is likely going to be gone after this year.
no.
Yeah, I think he's very. I mean, I don't know if there's confirmation.
Hear who the potential replacement might be?
No, I didn't see that. I just saw a headline a couple days ago, and I thought that was a possibility, but I didn't know for sure.
Well, people are talking maybe it's Iggy.
Oh wow. That'd be pretty sick.
That would be interesting. Iguodala, at age 42, becoming the head coach. I mean, he has such respect.
A lot of young coaches nowadays, man. That's kind of a thing.
For sure.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of coaches that like know the players. I mean, look at JJ Redick. He's like it wasn't that long since he was in the NBA himself, and I feel like same with NFL. There's a lot of young coaches who are more like buddy buddy with the players, less old men in suits, which I get. I kind of miss that era, but I get why that's popular nowadays.
Yeah. I've joked with people before. It's like all you need to do is like first you get a podcast and then you get to become an NBA coach. So that's the pipeline for Draymond's gonna be a coach someday, right?
Oh my gosh.
I love Draymond Green so much. He
Draymond's
made me
insane.
when I first started watching basketball. He used to make me so uncomfortable. I mean, he still makes me uncomfortable, but
Sure.
like it hits me in a way where I'm like, thank God he's making me uncomfortable on our team. You know what I mean? But like sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, we're like a millisecond away from him getting a T or from like God
Yeah.
knows what, you know? Um,
He's the guy who you love when he's on your team, but everyone else just can't stand.
Everybody else hates him.
yeah.
Like
I know, it reminds me kind
I'm
of
a Bulls fan. We had Joakim Noah.
Yeah, totally. It reminds me kind of like a Richard Sherman on the Seahawks back in the day, you know, who's like just talked a lot and super smart guy, but it's like you loved him if you're a Seahawks fan, you hated him if you weren't. I mean, there's always guys like that. I think of, I mean, Green for
Draymond
sure.
also has this level of like physical comedy that just makes me laugh so much. Like the thing is like he's also like he's really good. Like he's obviously like such a great defender and like knows how to play like on a team. Like he is, like you said, like he's such like that team ball player that the Warriors are so good at. But it's the personality that's the barrier for a lot of people.
Well, and that's like the more I watched him, the more I really started to appreciate it because it's like he does not really. I mean, other than like what I can think of right now, it's like he's oddly enough getting better at shooting threes, but like he doesn't delineate from his role, and he just got so good, and he's such a rock with like the role, especially when like the roster is healthy. You know what I mean? It's like hinges on a door. Like you can open and close that fucking door because they're not moving. Like they will be where they need to be. And so I was just like, yeah, like the more I kind of have watched his game, I'm like, I actually just kind of love that he doesn't put up with shit. He's just like, is there a different way of handling that? Sure, but that's not his personality. I'm like, he's consistent in a
Yeah.
way that is for me as a person who struggles with consistency, it's just like, he's actually
Refreshing.
quite admirable actually. Like, yeah, he can ruffle your feathers, but like, man, what he does is like something that I don't possess. Like, yeah, I appreciate it. You know?
Kenny, so with you've been a lifelong Lakers fan. Were you a fan of LeBron before he came to Lakers?
I had a hard time with him after the decision, and like a lot of people, him leaving Cleveland. I feel like that was pretty standard. But I mean, like just now talking about how when a guy's on your team, you learn to love him. I feel like there's so many players that come to mind who I couldn't stand, but when they were on the Lakers, you got to root for him. I think of like Patrick Beverley. He's like a player I really couldn't stand forever, and then he played for the Lakers for a year, and all of a sudden I'm a fan. I always respected LeBron for sure, and was very excited when he came. It was the post-Kobe years, and we weren't doing much, and I just kind of thought, like, at the very least, this will bring us a championship, hopefully more. Now, at this point, it's amazing what he's doing. It's incredible that he's still doing what he's doing at 41. But I am looking forward to the post-LeBron years, freeing up that salary space and to seeing what we can do. Hopefully our other guys stay healthy, and Luka keeps working and stays healthy himself. But yeah, I am a fan of him for sure, and I've always considered him one of the greats of all time. He's definitely in my top 3.
With the I mean, like I feel like everyone kind of had that feeling with the decision with LeBron, and I almost feel like everyone thought he was coming to their team.
Yeah,
like I was convinced he was coming to the Bulls. Like I was like, dude, it's gonna happen. Like him and D Wade are gonna team up in Chicago. It's his hometown, and I don't know why everyone got so delusional.
I know that always happens, right? I feel like that's same thing happened with like Ohtani coming to the Dodgers. Everybody just thought he was going to be on that team, but not to veer away from basketball. But that was. I mean, I think again, like most people, it's tough to see a guy who's drafted to his home team and the star of that team, and they made some good runs. It's like you knew that if he just stuck around, they probably would have ended up winning a few at Cleveland. But then leaving, having the super team, in Miami. It's the same feeling I always had with Durant. I love Durant on OKC, and then him leaving to the Warriors after losing to the Warriors in the conference finals the year before. It's like leaving and going to the team that beat you to win 2 championships just never sat well with me. But, it's also business, and, that's one of the reasons I've loved Kobe so much, is that he stuck around for 20 years. Although I know there were times he almost signed with the Bulls, and, he was very close to leaving a couple times, but he didn't. And because of that, this city, will always love him to death,
Definitely. John, I know you haven't been able to watch much playoffs. Much basketball lately in general. Kenny, have you been watching this series for the Lakers?
Yeah. I never would have guessed we'd be up 2-0. After the injuries, part of my brain went to, we're totally done, especially after losing to OKC by like 30 plus points 2 games in a row a few weeks ago. I just think that they're unbeatable in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And we were playing so well at the time. But after losing Luka and Reeves, I thought we were totally toast. I thought maybe we could win 1 out of 2 at home and at least make a series out of it. So I'm stoked being up 2-0. I think now we have a real chance of winning the series. I think if they can win 1 in Houston and come back and take 1 of the 2 at home, they might go 6 or 7 games, but I think we have a real chance now. But I think it's going to be tough to win in Houston, so we'll see. And I think the winner of the series would probably play OKC, right? So I think, even if we get through, it's going to be real, real difficult. But you never know. There's teams in the past that, weren't supposed to make it and weren't supposed to dethrone the top dog that did, and you never know what's going to happen. So I'll always hold out a little hope.
So
but
unpredictable.
I know. I think OKC is going to be real tough to beat, though.
Definitely. But I do it is really interesting because Lakers are currently one of the few teams who are up 2-0. Everyone is tied right now. Like, it's kind of crazy how this really feels like it's pretty up in the air. I don't know if it's in the cards, but I would love to see a LeBron versus Wemby showdown in the playoffs. That would be fun.
That would be incredible. I would love that too. I know. Do you see his injury last night? Man, he just
yeah, that's scary.
I don't know how
concussion.
I don't know how he didn't get his hands out in front of him at all. It's like he's so tall. He just fell all the way down to his face from like a full stand, basically. Just bounced his forehead off the ground. It was really gnarly. It's like no wonder he has a concussion. He's 7'4". Yeah. But hopefully he'll be back soon. I really love him.
For sure. John, outside of the Warriors, are there any players or teams you kind of dig?
For sure. Yeah, I've actually been really enjoying Detroit.
Yeah,
Detroit's been awesome.
Cade? What's the main dude? Last name's Cade?
Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham, that's right, yeah. I really like him. I like Detroit. Although it's been interesting watching, because now that I'm at my mother-in-law's, we have like a third person to help with Margot. So I've been peeling away watching basketball. It's funny. You go to your grandma's house and you start like, oh, there are no rules here. TV's on. So I've been watching that matchup. I don't know. It's just like kind of the only one I've been able to see. And
they lost game 1, right? Or didn't Orlando win game 1?
Yes, and like Detroit was kind of playing their ass off for like the first quarter, and then I 20 or 30 minutes later I look up and it's tied. Like, it's kind of crazy. They're kind of getting.
They're up 22 right now at the end of the third. So they're gonna be 1-1. Looks like. But I agree though. I mean, seeing them as a 1 seed, I never would have guessed. I feel like it was such a cool kind of underdog sleeper team this year. That at least midway through the season when they were holding on to that 1 seed for a while, I was shocked. It's so funny how sports works, because I still, when I think of Detroit and the Pistons, I still have a little bit of me that's like stings from 2004, losing to them 22 years ago. But I was like, oh, like we win a 3-peat, and then a couple years later with like our own version of a super team lose to them in the finals. But yeah, I think it's really sweet that they've done what they've done, and I hope they come out of the East. I definitely just don't want the Celtics too. So
where they were 2 years ago, like they were like one of the worst teams in the history of the NBA, which is crazy. Yeah.
Didn't they start a season like 0-16? There was 1 year they started with like the worst beginning to a season ever. Or it was like 1-21 or something horrible. I forget the number, but it was really bad.
Almost lost, I think, 19 straight. It was like approaching the record. I don't think they broke the record, but
Yeah, they were a couple away from it. I know, and like 2-3 years later, they're one of the top dogs. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, love it, love it.
Yeah, I agree. As long as Boston doesn't get to the finals, I'm happy out of the East.
I think we can all agree on that. And also, like, I think what's interesting with that Pistons series is like I don't think that the Magic are very good, and I think Paulo is actually like I like watching Paulo, but he is actually quite overrated and not as polished as I wanted him to be. So I think Cade is just the way he plays. It's so easy to root for. I like the depth of that team, and like Jalen Duren's really great, and even the they have their own Draymond and beef stew a little bit.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And this guy Thompson too, right? I think he's got like a
Yeah.
twin brother on a different team. I really like him a lot. He's just fucking like
He's jacked, man. He's huge.
he just has like I feel like he has this this like I'm gonna will this thing to happen because you look at him and you're like, yeah, maybe in like a few years he'll be like I don't know more whatever, but he just pulls out these things where you're like, how did he just do that? Which leads me to so on the list of names, was it Baron Davis?
Yeah, Baron Davis.
So again, I kind of already acknowledged this like around when he would have been playing for the Warriors or any of those teams. Really, I wasn't really following basketball, so I was like, oh shit, let me look this person up and watching highlight reels. And what?
Baron
Like,
Davis
who
is
was
sick.
this player, dude? On all the teams he was on, I was just like, oh my god, how was I
Believe
not
team,
watching
man.
basketball? You see him play, and you're just like, this is the most compelling shit I've ever seen in my life. He's just so, I mean,
Yeah.
Jordan, but like
That's I know it was before your time, but that Warriors playoff run was like insane. Everyone was rooting for them because they were such an underdog and
Yeah.
they kept showing up.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to like deep dive into some
If
of
you
the
want to
games.
if you want to swap him out for someone more modern, we can definitely do that once we get to that.
Yeah, when was that run too? That was right in between kind of the Detroit 04 championship and the Lakers back-to-back, or the Celtics winning.
Yeah.
It was like 05 to 07 or 08 when Baron Davis was on that team.
I want to say it was 07, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember watching him on the earlier days too on the Hornets. I saw him play a couple times, and when he was still just coming to, before he was on the Clippers, and I always loved Baron Davis. He always seemed like a good guy too. He was in a lot of ads because he was like really personable and funny.
Yeah.
I think he even has like an alter ego rap group where he has some music act that he came out with a while back called like something oatmeal. And his whole like persona is being like the cool rich uncle who's like older and gray but like raps, and I never listened to it, but I know that he like tried to do music.
There was also, since we're gonna swap him out, I'll call it out. He also acted a little bit. He had little small roles in like there was that Christmas movie with Seth Rogen, like he was in there, and just a couple random small roles.
He always just showed up kind of randomly. You could tell he had his hand on the beat.
He's got some personality for sure. Yeah. The last question I want to do before we get into that game, just playing purely into your band name, I want you guys to give me both your picks, your head and your heart version of who is the MVP this year. Who does your head say is MVP, and who do you want to be MVP?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You want to go first?
No.
I feel like the head is, I think SGA, I think just makes, that's kind of what everybody's been saying, and he's great, and he probably deserves it. The heart, and I think it makes sense that he wouldn't win. I do think it's a shame he wasn't even a finalist, but I think Luka deserves to be at least in the conversation of a finalist. I think his numbers, maybe we're not the best team, but his numbers are off the charts this year, and he was just incredible. He had so many good games. If you look at his stats, even next to SGA, he beats him in almost every category, but they're a better team. So I get why he would get it. But I think he at least should have been a finalist. I saw he got 0 first place votes, which I thought was just a total shame. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But so head, I'd say SGA. Heart, I wish Luka got a little more love there. But I'm also a Laker fan, so I'm biased.
That's fair. John, what about you?
Yeah, I guess it's fun. I haven't been following these conversations. I was going to say Wemby as head, but I forgot about OKC and SGA, so that's kind of a no-brainer. But Hart, Katie Cunningham, man, I just I like him. I like how he plays, and I
Sure.
saw him do an interview, and he like style. Like to me, something about like what people wear and what their disposition is while they're being interviewed, like completely adds depth to. It's just a narrative, just for fun in your own mind. I like what you think these people are like. You'll
Yeah.
never. But it was so understated what he was wearing, but he still looked sharp. And he was like the fucking coolest guy in the room, not trying to be cool, just like he just. See, I was just. It's funny. You start thinking, you're like, man, I bet he has a really good relationship with his dad. Like he just had this like he just had this like I don't know,
He's
like
wholesome.
very like confident and not cocky thing about him. It was the anti-superstar, but he was
Yeah,
just
I feel
he plays like a
Russell
fucking
Westbrook. He
yeah.
is like he dresses like he wants to be cool, but he like wants to be cool, and you can tell.
Yeah.
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 So your head is SGA, your heart is Cade.
Yep.
I like that.
Definitely, I like that too. I'm similar in that camp. I think it's probably SGA, but I mean, I want Wemby. Like I would love for Wemby to be MVP.
Yeah.
I think he had an amazing season too, and the Spurs
Totally.
are not the second seed without him by any means.
Yeah.
But also at that same regard, like how can I say that and then say the Pistons are not the number one seed without Cade Cunningham? So fair enough.
Very true.
Cool. So let's get to let's do position matchups. This is a game where I like to we'll call out some players. I pick some for each team that you guys support, and we'll just kind of go off. Who's your kind of musical comparison? Like who is the musical version of this player? And we'll go back and
Cool.
forth. We'll go John and then Kenny and back and forth, and then I picked some answers too, and then we can compare our picks.
Oh, cool.
So, since you said you're not familiar with Baron Davis, why don't we go with someone more recent? Let's just do the entire kind of main three. Let's go with Klay Thompson.
Man, Clay is an enigma to me.
Yeah.
It's funny, there's certain things about his personality that just make me want to like smack him in the face a little bit. Like a get out of here with that like fucking but then you see his follow through and you're like, he's like not trying to be that. He just kind of is that, if that makes any sense. And so I like him more. And his like pulled up white socks to me is like kind of reminds me of my dad and like not cool, but like who cares? So musically, well, as I'm describing all of that, I don't know, maybe like Jackson Brown, who was just like smooth and like certain people like love him, but to me there's like the least amount of sex appeal ever. I don't know, it's just like there's something really smooth and he has a reputation, a good reputation, but to me I'm just kind of like he just kind of like I appreciate him. But I'll probably put on. Yeah, I hope Jackson Brown isn't listening to this because I respect the hell out of
I
you,
mean,
Jackson Brown.
I hope Jackson
But
Brown
like
is
Klay
listening.
Thompson is obviously a great player, but there's something kind of monotone in terms of like fashion and almost goofy that I think is I'm gonna go with Jackson Brown for Klay Thompson.
All right,
Nice.
I like that. Yeah, he is a little tough. I mean, I'm trying to think of like who it. I think it's like I think Jackson Brown actually does work because in my mind, Clay is someone who's like he thinks he should be regarded higher than he currently is. Like he threw a fit when he
Yeah.
was left off the 75 list a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So Jackson Brown, I feel like maybe he's slightly on the outside cusp of that group
Like
that
still hasn't won. Yeah, somehow still hasn't won a Grammy.
yeah.
Like
It's
I
like
He
I'm
hasn't
not
won a
James
Grammy,
Taylor.
really?
I get it.
I don't think so.
Crazy.
Unless it changed since
Yeah. That's wild.
Uh,
I mean, wild.
Crazy. All right, Kenny, let's start with your Laker. Let's do Rick Fox.
Rick Fox. All right. The handsome guy. So, yeah, John, to fill you in, Rick Fox was number 17 on the Lakers in the early 2000s, part of the three-peat years. He dated Tyra Banks, was married to Vanessa Williams because he was like a really good-looking guy. So he was always with supermodels, and he acted too. I feel like he was always trying to act. I was trying to think of like who's like a role player, not the star of the team, solid role player who is married to supermodels or has married supermodels and acts or has acted. And a few names came to mind, but I kept landing on Keith Richards. Even though I think Keith Richards in the hierarchy of like rock stardom and musicianship, I don't think Rick Fox is there at all. You know, he was very much like a, you know, second, third string, not third string, but like, you know, never a star, never like an all-star. But yeah, I kept going to Keith Richards. I think Rick Fox, he had some edge to him too. He was like the pretty boy who, do you remember I think it was the 2002 playoffs against the Kings, him and Doug Christie. So at this era, I'm like trying to educate John as well. In this era, the Kings were like, the Kings and Lakers were just head to head. They were both so great. And we got through them each year, but it was a fight. It'd go 7 games. In 2002, it went 7 games. And there was a fight between Rick Fox and Doug Christie on the court. They both got ejected. Rick Fox ran through the tunnel backstage out to the Kings bench to meet Doug Christie halfway and start fighting him again. So like on TV, you see all the Kings bench clear and run to the tunnel, and then you see Rick Fox and Doug Christie going at it in the tunnel. And I always thought that was like one of the sickest things ever.
That series was an all-timer, man.
Oh man, that was really, I mean, the Robert Horry, you know, Horry for the win in Game 4. I mean, so many. That was, I probably lost a year or two of my life watching that series as a 14-year-old kid, you know. But yeah, great times. But yeah, I'll say Rick Fox, Keith Richards. But obviously Keith Richards is you know, more accomplished than I'd say Rick Fox ever got to be.
Sure. Most of my answers I keep more in like I stay in my indie lane, my more independent lane.
Nice.
For Rick Fox, for me, I was thinking of Father John Misty,
Nice.
because he is kind of like pretty boy of indie rock a little bit. And also there's a subtle tie. I started indie basketball because I would just do dumb puns of basketball players and mash them up. Fleet Foxes. I mean, you know, he played drums in Fleet Foxes a little bit, so I had to make that connection too. But I do think Father John Misty, personality-wise, matches him a little bit.
Yeah, I dig that.
Right,
we toured with Father John Misty a few years ago. Did like a co-headline tour, so we got to see him every night. And yeah, the amount of like female eyes just gazing at him, you know, emotionless, but like seeing it through. Yeah, it's very real.
I hear he's a big Laker fan too.
Yeah, he is. We didn't talk about it a ton, but he is a Laker fan.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Warriors. Let's do the guy we already talked about, Draymond Green.
Draymond Green. Sorry, I didn't actually understand the game when I was reading the email, so I don't have anything prepared. So I'll try and be somewhat quick.
Who is a artist who's has the reputation, I guess, but is talented?
Well, it's funny. Like it depends on what attribute. Like, I'm almost thinking of like who's the Rock, but also who's like there's like Draymond is like suave or like suave and smooth in like a grown man way, which is like to me like more admirable than it is like sex appeal, like current sex appeal. Which makes me think of Seal now.
Love
There
it.
you go. Also dated a supermodel, was married to a supermodel.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Draymond is probably like if he's one of your friends, he's probably like like I love it. I could just imagine him being like a friend for life, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know Seal, but he just seems also quite loyal for some reason to me.
I want to
so I'm
believe
going
that
with Seal.
they're best friends.
I did actually. It's super random, but this made me respect Seal in a bigger way than I already did. The Paul McCartney show I went to a few weeks ago at the Fonda, ton of celebrities there, but they were all up in the balcony sitting down. The only celebrity who was down in the pit with all the fans, like up close, was Seal. And he was losing his shit the whole time by himself. Like he left his celebrity friends up in the balcony, and he was like, "Screw this, I'm going down to the floor." And I mean, I never had a reason to dislike Seal, but it definitely boosted him in my book quite a bit. Seeing that.
Yeah.
Hey man, Seal's on that Space Jam soundtrack.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's move back to Lakers. I mean, Kobe Bryant. Who's the Kobe Bryant of music? Man?
A lot of pressure.
Kobe's tough, man. I mean, Kobe, like a lot of Laker fans and being born and raised here, he's, you know, not even close to being like nobody's even close to him when it comes to my favorite athlete of all time. I was 12 years old when the three-peat years started. So my entire bedroom was Kobe and Shaq. I have a bunch of Kobe memorabilia. I have like a Black Mamba poster in my living room. People in the band, John knows this, that like, my iPhone background for 10 years has been a photo of Kobe Bryant. It's like he's ingrained in my life and has been for so long. The day he passed away, I was in Seattle riding with Maddie and Charity, and I was at the hotel, and I woke up that morning and like saw the news and had to call Maddie and tell him I had to take the day off. It was like I couldn't even go in and work for the day because I was just distraught.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, he's big part of my life. Love him to death and grew up on him. It was really hard to think of somebody to compare him to musically. A few names came to mind. I thought of like Johnny Cash, the Man in Black, because the Black Mamba, but that's just like one connection there. I thought of Elvis, who's like kind of one of the kings and one of the goats, but died young. But another one that came to mind that I thought was a little more fitting, which isn't indie. I realize this is indie basketball.
Yeah.
I did realize after the fact that all these names I'm using are like majorly famous rock stars. But yeah, I thought John Lennon. I feel like he is like he's introspective. I think Kobe was, almost to his fault in the early years, was like kind of a bookworm. He wasn't like out partying with the guys and they didn't like him because of that. I feel like he's like a thoughtful person. He was a part of something really big early on in his life, like the Kobe Shaq years, where like they were successful because of each other, but then later on he found his own feet and he had his own thing, that worked, kind of like Lennon's solo years. And they both, died tragically at a young age. Kobe was 41, John Lennon was 40. I just feel like Kobe almost in a cheesy way sometimes would like drop quotes. He would like try to showcase his like book smarts a little bit, like even calling himself like vino, like I age like fine wine. Like he had all these dumb things that were so cheesy, but it made me love him that much more. Like he could do no wrong because he's Kobe Bryant, but he really wanted people to know that he spoke Italian and he like was educated and he wasn't just like an idiot, which I respected. And I there's obviously some ego there too, which I think him and John Lennon both had. But it was tough. There's a million names I could think of, but John Lennon I'll go with for Kobe.
Pretty spot
one
on.
Of the goats. Even
just the Kobe Shaq, Paul and John comparison is pretty on point. I stepped out. I went with an all-time kind of legend too, and I leaned in like who exemplifies Mamba mentality when it comes to music, and to me that's Brian Wilson. Like he is like, dude, it's
just
gotta
so
be
locked in all the time.
Yeah,
I love that. I didn't even think about Brian Wilson.
Kobe had his vision on the court, man. He knew every move. He knew what everyone had to be doing, and I feel like that's Brian Wilson, man. He knew what everyone had to be doing. He had Mamba mentality.
Yeah, he orchestrated everything. He worked the hardest. I mean, I always said, like, you talk about the GOAT conversation, and I think it's an impossible conversation to be had. But I do think that if Kobe Bryant had LeBron James's body and physique, that it wouldn't be a question. I think that if Kobe, his work ethic and his skill had like the build of LeBron James, his numbers would have been that much crazier, and I think he would be no doubt the greatest of all time. I think he was the hardest worker and maybe the most skilled because of that.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'm partial to Michael Jordan because I'm.
Yeah, no, I still put him number one for sure, but LeBron and Kobe are like a 2-3 for me. I think.
Yeah.
Not to go on and on about Kobe, I could do it all day, but we can move on to the next guy.
So yeah, next is the last one for you, John, and this is someone who people may put in the top 10 now. It's who's the Steph? Who's the Steph Curry of music?
So I'm kind of drawing on like Steph Curry, like he's smaller. He had to learn to play the game in a way to find like an advantage, which ended up changing the game. And that makes me think of Tom York from Radiohead. He was just like grew up like super kind of like not like had a lazy eye, like did surgeries for it, just kind of like got a bad hand dealt in terms of like typical things that give you confidence, right? But because of that, he not because of that, it's not like I know this much, but like it the way that he leaned in with his very like particular way of singing, and also just like I don't know. He found what he does specially and just like was super confident about it.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite singers, one of my favorite art like bands. And yeah, I don't know. I'll go Tom York from Radiohead.
Ultimate confidence route for sure. Like Steph was drafted out of Davidson. He was so small. No one thought he was going to do anything. And he knew he could. And he's the best 3-point shooter of all time now. I mean, that's
incredible.
I I went a slightly different route, and I went with Steph's personality because he is. It's the dichotomy because like he is obviously one of the best shooters. He is the best shooter of all time, but he's also kind of a dork, like personality wise. So like I went in this realm of like if I'm thinking of like who is like one of the most iconic people, but is also a dork when it comes to like alternative music, and it's Rivers Cuomo.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if the Spurs are Weezer, like, or the Warriors are Weezer, I'm totally cool with that.
That's so funny you say that. I remember like a few months ago seeing Steph Curry at some music festival. It might have been like Bottle Rock up in Napa, and he's like front row at Benson Boone singing along to that like Beautiful Things song. And this is like months and months after everybody was sick of that song. You know, like nobody would be caught dead like jamming out to it and singing along, and he's doing it. But I feel like those guys are like, they've had so much success that like the thought of doing something uncool doesn't even cross their mind. And it's such a different cultural thing too, but I thought it was really funny because everybody's making fun of Steph Curry for like being a Benson Boone fan after that song was drilled into our brains for a year or two. You know,
he's a huge Paramore
bless his
fan,
heart. You know, I read that.
He's a huge what?
Paramore fan.
Yeah, like big time.
Wow, he's a Pisces, right? I'm pretty sure he's a Pisces.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm not sure. I know Shaq is, but
there you go. All right, so Kenny, let's do your last one. Let's the current star of the team, the future of the Lakers, Luka.
Yes, Luka, man, Luka's tough. I mean, like we were talking earlier, he's one of those guys. As great as he's been, you know, it was hard to like him when he wasn't on my team, but now I really love him. I love his kind of like energy and just how much smack talk there is, and I really, really like him. I was throwing some names around, and one thing I love about Luka is how kind of like effortlessly good he is. I feel like he doesn't showboat too much. Like in his style, he kind of dresses like a normal dude. He's like just got effortless talent. I think he's really strong, but he doesn't look it. You know, he's just he's kind of like comfortable in his own skin, and I feel. I think of Tom Petty in that way. He's kind of like casual and cool and has like effortless talent, but you know, is one of the greats, but doesn't need to go out and like shove it in your face constantly. And I feel like Luka's kind of, he just knows he's great and he does his thing, and I respect that. And I just like how intense he gets on the court.
Like that.
You know?
Confirmed. Steph Curry, March 14th. I am March 13th.
I like that one.
Nice.
Nice. There you go.
You know what, dude? One more thought with Luka. I think if you gave Luka like Tom Petty hair, they'd look a little similar. gave just a little bit. Gave him some glasses and like parted down the middle, long blonde hair. There'd be like a touch of Petty in it.
Or at least for
I need
Halloween,
him to grow it out
like,
now. He's got to grow it out.
That's
my pick for Luka. You know, I'm thinking like who is like the next wave is kind of like who is the next kind of superstar, at least who's like reaching a little bit right now. I don't know if you guys listen to MJ Lenderman, but he's huge, man, and I'm a big fan, and I think he is like he does so much, and I think he is kind of that like he's also kind of like goofy, you know, like, and Luka's a little silly in his personality. I feel like MJ is the man, and I
see that. I think MJ was a basketball player too, right? I feel like I saw something about him playing at least
he's a
high
big,
school ball.
He's a big basketball dude. I know there was I think he did like I don't know if it was like Letterman or not Letterman. It was like one of the late night shows, and Shaq was there, and he was like talking with Shaq while wearing a Shaq t-shirt.
That's sick.
So
Love
funny.
That. No, that's a good comparison.
Right.
I like that.
So those are our musician matchups, and that's kind of all I got. I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast and you know talking this out.
No, man, thanks. Honestly, it's such a breath of fresh air to hop on something and be able to talk about something like basketball and sports a bit,
For sure.
Always happy to do interviews, but it's a lot of the same thing.
Likewise.
For the most part.
I was a little
It's been
nervous,
really fun. I've been looking
and
forward
I loved
to
it.
Definitely.
30.
When does tour start?
Next week. Yeah, we fly on Monday, meet up in Nashville. We got a couple days there before a show in town, and then we head out from Nashville. It's a shorter run. It's only like 2.5, 3 weeks, I think. But this one, then we have another longer one later in the summer.
Cool. Sounds great, man. Thanks again for coming on, and I'll catch you guys later. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much to Jon and Kenny for coming on the podcast and talking hoops. Was a blast. But that's it for this one. If you want to support us on Patreon, we're at patreon.com/indiebasketball. If you support there, you get a monthly playlist. You get a bonus half-court session, which those are picking up soon. You get discounts on merch. We have a super secret Discord channel in our Discord. There's lots of great stuff, but most importantly, it helps me keep doing this. It helps me do more half-court sessions. It helps me order more merch. I don't make a dime on this thing, but I just love doing this, and your support would mean everything to me. So that's patreon.com/indiebasketball. Otherwise, join the conversation. We're on Discord. We're an active bunch. We're a fun group. We like to keep it light. We're talking playoffs all the time. Join us there. Check out our Discord channel. Otherwise, thank you so much. Make sure you're following on Instagram, on Blue Sky, subscribe on YouTube. But thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.